welcome to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and I'm very happy that you joined the program today because I have a very special guest. Introducing to the Out of the Box Radio listeners is someone that I've been wanting to have on the show for quite some time. Her name is Lou George, and Lou is a spiritual teacher, a truth speaker, energy healer, vibe reading, magic making, perception shaking, creatrix. And I love how she describes herself as being a fusion of emotional alchemist and spiritual gangster, sort of like 50% Deepak, 50% Tupac. And she's also an intuitive therapist. She works one-on-one with clients locally in person, but also internationally via video calls like Skype. And joining me today on Skype, all the way from across the pond, as they say, is Lou George. And Lou, welcome to Out of the Box Radio.
Oh, hey, Christine. Thank you for inviting me. So good to be here.
Now, where exactly are you located? I know you're probably in your pajamas, right? Because it's a call that you don't have to be on video. Where are you located?
I can validate that I am in my pajamas. They're a Rolling Stones pair of fleecy pajamas, and I am in Wales in the UK.
Fantastic. I got to, I think, just get wind of you and see some of your writing, and then I started watching some of your videos through a dear friend of ours, through a mutual friend and fellow intuitive, Abigail Noel.
Oh, yeah.
And with Abigail, now I've talked with Abigail about twin hearts, soulmates, sacred partners, but also, of course, we've talked in great depth and detail about the passing of Prince, or Prince Rogers Nelson. And that is, I think, probably where maybe I've seen some of your comments and then also followed up on some of the stuff that you've been doing. You were also someone who felt the presence of Prince, were you not?
Absolutely, and that is how I connected with Abigail in the first place.
And let's talk about because Abigail is an intuitive, she's a medical intuitive, and she has different ways of information coming to her. Will you let our listeners know a little bit about the work that you do with clients and just for humanity in general? What exactly, how do things come to you? How is it? Is it something that you hear, something you feel, or something you see, or is it a combination of many things?
Oh, that's such a good question. And the answer is in many, many ways. So predominantly seeing, so clairvoyance, feeling, empathy, knowing I'll receive a download of information. So that's claircognizance. But my heavenly hotline is my direct channel. So at this point, all I need to do is think of my heavenly A-team, my ascended masters and guides, and it's an instant connection. So whenever anyone thinks of someone in spirit, it's literally like calling their phone. You send that energetic signal and they immediately respond.
Wow. I love it.
I know. And you might not always be aware of receiving that response, depending on how perceptive you are, how open, how much you're in your head space as opposed to your heart. But you best believe that they've responded. I think that expectations need to be dropped as to just how spirit communication should be. Everybody's got an idea of how it should happen, and I think Hollywood hasn't helped us in that sense at all, because it's really unrealistic, the movies that you watch. But if we can replace expectation with trust and faith. Now, trusting can be difficult because communication can be so subtle. Sometimes it can be a really loud roar.
So you're talking about the fact that if you come from your heart and not your headspace, which is hard for us human beings, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Life is so busy, so we're more often than not in the head. More often than not. So that is why. Sorry, go on, Christine.
Yeah, no, and we're in this constant battle, are we not, between our heart and our heads?
Every day. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how did you know that you had this ability to talk directly to source or to your guides? Was this something that happened when you were young and you realized these things, or was it something that came about later in life?
Okay. I think I'll start that. I was saying that my mission now is to try and normalize what it means to be extrasensory. So let's start by saying that everybody is psychic, right? Everybody, no exception. And my greatest bugbear is the great psychic will try and suppress everybody else's abilities by making you believe that you, the mere mortal, and that they are this special great psychic and that they are gifted, and that's just simply not true. Nobody is a gifted psychic. Everyone is so innately psychic to varying degrees of accuracy, depending on how often that their psychic muscle is flexed, because it is something that needs to be trained. If you don't go to the gym and work out, you're not going to have abs, and it's the same as the pineal gland works in the same way. You've got to train it. But my own experience growing up, I didn't realize that I was like many people. We're not told that. We're not taught that. And we're not informed that psychic communication or mediumship abilities are our birthright. So I spent my childhood, it was a pretty normal childhood, but I would certainly see physical manifestations at times. As a child, that was scary. And going up into my early 20s, would still see perhaps full body apparitions sometimes at the side of my bed. I would see orbs that were as big as footballs, flying towards me. And that was kind of terrifying because I didn't understand. But it was when I was about 30. I'm 37 now. And I went through, the most... the biggest transformation in my life. Went through a massive trauma, and it was one of those, Christine, where you just face down and you don't want to get up anymore. You haven't got the drive to get up anymore.
Right.
But I had to get up. I got 2 children. I couldn't return to my employment. I was suddenly on my own with these 2 kids, and I have a mortgage to pay like everybody else. I had to work out what I was going to do. So I thought, right, okay, I've never been in this position where I've been forced out of employment. So now's the opportunity to do something that I really want to do. And I sat with that for months, and I didn't know myself anymore. I was in such a state of trauma. So anyway, I decided to go self-employed, and I did some retraining, and I started a tiny little beauty business. But I think I pretty much sucked at that. I wasn't great at it. And I just wasn't enjoying it. My heart wasn't in it. And I said, no, do you know what? I want to serve. I want to connect with my psychic self, because I've always been interested. Like I said, I'd had physical manifestations and apparitions. And so I'd always read, I'd always studied, but I didn't know that everybody could link in, that everybody could read energy, everybody can ring that heavenly hotline. I didn't know. So I thought, that's it. I down tools, and I threw myself into a psychic development course that led on to energy healing courses, tarot reading, numerology, law of attraction, just everything that most people would class as metaphysical. I did, sat in circle for years, and then ultimately went on to start reading professionally and giving healing sessions. Now, when I look back at those kind of sessions that I used to offer, that's entirely different to what I do now, because rather than connecting with people's with the clients, perhaps family and loved ones in spirit, I now prefer to go straight to source, or God, or the creator, or whatever you're comfortable with naming it. I like to work with ascended masters, and that's purely because that's with no disrespect to anybody and their families, because connecting with families can bring such healing, such comfort and such healing. But I've kind of done my time there. I like to hang out on the 5th dimension and above because the information is so edifying. You know, that what they can give you, the inspiration is just beautiful. So now I like to work with clients who are ready to make big changes in their life, who are ready to acknowledge that they're psychic too and they want to start working with it.
Oh, I love that. I love that you want to help people develop that within themselves. Instead of relying on you, you're right. Like other people might say, "Oh, no, you have to come to me for that." Well, obviously they should come to you because you can open up the dialogue and maybe start to touch something within them that can be activated, and then they're on a journey, and that's a long, that can be a long journey for some people as well. But that's beautiful that you develop that with them. So people,
thank you.
Yeah, so people can contact you to enhance their own psychic or intuitive abilities.
That's right. I do not accept clients for readings. You know, I'm not interested, bless them, but I'm not interested in telling someone when they're going to meet that special someone. You know, sometimes this information will drop down if it's necessary, if it's healing to their heart. And it helps to increase the vibration, but that's not what I'm about at all. I'm about empowering other people to realize that they can do this too, and to plug into their own divine connection.
I love that. And I think I would say my intuition or my hit on our whole way of doing things in this world is about to do a complete flip, or it's been flipping, but it's about ready to complete flip in regards to the way we handle dis-ease within the body.
Yes.
And our health. I really truly think that the doctors of the future are going to be not so much carrying scalpels and a stethoscope, but they're going to be people that can do remote healing, draw down information from divine source to tell someone this is what's going on in your body, or this is what I'm being told that you need to start doing more of, or, taking care of yourself in a certain way. But I do think that especially in the medical field, maybe it'll be a marriage of the two, a marriage of the traditional medicine. There's Chinese medicine that's been around for thousands of years. But what I'm saying is more of the allopathic,
yes,
and a blend of that and the energy work. What do you, when it comes to your clients, do you also get a hit? Like, let's say they want to talk about, I don't know, they just lost someone and they're feeling a lot of pain in that loss and they want to connect. But do you ever, as you're talking to them, maybe see something regarding their health, or that you feel the need to tell them something about their health?
That's really interesting because, as you know, we both have a close relationship with Abigail Noel, and she is a fine medical intuitive. Now, that is not my forte. All of us seem to have... just as we have different attributes to our personality, so do we have with our reading abilities. Mm-hmm. And so that's not something that I tend to hook in at all, or it hasn't been as of yet. But that's not to say, Christine, that's not something that's coming from me, because I'm always switching up a gear, which is how it should be. Because as much as I teach, I'm ever the student as well. So I'm always, even this weekend, I've switched up a gear, to learn something else again. So possibly, but no, health isn't something that comes up with me so much. It's more emotional well-being. Mm-hmm. But if we look at it, all disease on a health physical level starts on an emotional.
Yes.
So I am addressing the health in that sense, but no, not in the sense that somebody would approach a medical intuitive like Abigail Noel and discuss their health. No, that's not something that's come up with me per se.
Now, when you say that you deal mostly like with the emotions,
yeah.
So let's just walk through like a typical session that you have with a client. Do they, before your session with them, you just get them on the phone or on a video call, and you do you ask them any questions, or is it just like immediately there's a download of information coming at you?
Oh gosh, I was speaking about this just a couple of hours ago to somebody else. It varies. Mostly I prefer to know nothing about the client, because then I can absolutely trust my channel. The less I know about someone and their issues or whatever's going on with them, I can totally trust what I get because I know it didn't come from anywhere else, you know?
Right.
So I prefer not to know anything. When I'm working online, I do most of my work online because for some reason, most of my clients are in the States. I work internationally, as you know, but most of my clients are in the States. So they will just book a session online. I'll know their names. Sometimes they'll drop me a message. Sometimes when people are very vulnerable, they find that just cathartic, you know, just dropping you that message to have someone hear them. But generally, no. Generally, someone just set up a time and a space to meet. And I'll try and describe a typical session, but there truly is no typical session. They're so unique, as unique as the client themselves. So if we're speaking of emotional alchemy, which I would call transforming shit into gold, you know, because people think alchemy, what is that? Basically, it's a process of retraining the subconscious mind, right? So we're shedding old thought patterns, we're releasing and transmuting negative emotions and beliefs that no longer serve us. And ultimately, it's about finding purpose in the pain in order to release trauma. So we would achieve this in any number of ways. This could be through achieving a light state of hypnosis. Could be the use of positive affirmation and mantra, could be forgiveness exercises. I like to use Ho'oponopono, the ancient Hawaiian practice that is super powerful and beautiful because it literally means to make things right. People have such a huge release on that. It's gorgeous.
For our listeners, will you say what those are? I know what they are. I forget the order. I mean, there's not an order, but can you say what that is? It's Ho'opono?
Maybe the pronunciation's different from where we live. I don't know, but I pronounce it as Ho'oponopono.
Okay, and what are those phrases or the words that you say?
It literally means to make things right. Okay. So it's something ancient traditions. So the culture, that families would, let's say somebody was transitioning or somebody was very sick. The whole family, the village would gather, and they would recite the Ho'oponopono mantra. It's about reparation. It's about forgiveness. It's about acceptance. It's about forgiving yourself and others on every level. It's so beautiful. Maybe we should do that, Christine.
Let's do it. Let's do it now.
I love that. We'll do that.
Can we do it?
What, right now?
Sure. Is it? Yeah. No. What is it?
Do that.
The words though. Is it? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me and thank you.
Okay, that's what I want. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry is the first one. I love you.
I love you. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
And thank you.
And thank you.
Wow.
Those are some of the most powerful phrases known to this planet, eh?
And some of the most difficult to say.
Oh, yes. To ourselves and to others.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I find that we recently had the eclipse, and with that, there's a lot of things happening. I know planetarily, there's Mercury in retrograde. There's this thing called the Lion's Gate, which I don't understand. When I think about it, I just think of a lion's head, and I haven't read up that much on it. But then we had the eclipse, and in my own personal, and I know whatever happens to me on a personal level is happening in the zeitgeist, right? It's happening in the outer world or with other people as well, because that's just how it's shown to me. But we're in a process right now of, I would say, and now this is for me personally, okay, whatever, and I feel like I progress, I feel like I'm somewhat of a caring, human, and I'm very much aware of my emotion, and I'm very much aware of what I put out into the world. I always try to come from a good place of intention. But that said, I find that right now, the very last remnants of old wounds, things that maybe we've carried on for lifetimes, we've carried on our backs for lifetimes, unresolved issues, those kind of things, they're coming up. I mean, I know personally, just being with someone, connecting with someone that I love more than I've never felt this type of love before in my life with this human being, right? This human being this human being to me is like my lover, my husband, my wife, my mother, my brother, my child, all of the relationships you can have.
You knew each other in many lifetimes.
We have. I know we have.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good.
But with that person, because they are really the ultimate mirror, what I've found is that these old wounds, they just kind of pop up. And sometimes we can beat ourselves up over feeling certain things, or we express them, wrongly, or we try and suppress them. But I've noticed, again, this is me, but I feel like it's in the general zeitgeist, that we're all sort of, these things are coming up, but they're coming up in order to be cleared. Am I on the right path?
Yes, you're on point. Everything, when it comes to planetary shifts, and that's not my forte, I have a little bit of knowledge on that, but when it comes to planetary shifts, everything that's happening above, so below. We are, look at the effect that the moon has on the tide, for example. So don't tell me that when the planets are moving and aligning and shifting, that's not having a vibrational pull on us as well. Of course it is, So particularly when we have things like eclipses, full moons, things like that, that will bring up issues that need to be addressed, ancestral and karmic cleansing, things like that.
And especially, I think also when you do find someone that it's either, if you call them a soulmate or a twin heart or sacred partner or whatever, when you find someone that you love unconditionally, that mirror is kind of placed back at you, and you are forced to actually love yourself unconditionally, which is which is a bigger challenge than people think.
It's it's so much easier, isn't it, to love another person or an animal? Look how easy it is to love an animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Very easy to love. But yourself, we have so many hang-ups, we have so many issues. But the point is, there's so many of us that work on them, Christine. We're constantly cleaning up. And the fact that we recognize them, because there's a lot of people on this planet that don't realize they got issues. They don't realize they got shit to work out. Mm-hmm. So we're not doing too bad, but you're absolutely correct. When you're in particularly a twin flame, twin heart relationship, as opposed to a soulmate, because a soulmate to me is more comfortable.
Yes.
With a twin flame, you're gonna, that can be more uncomfortable, because that's raw, and it's beautiful, and it's deep, and it's intense, and it's passionate, and all those gorgeous things, but it's raw, and raw sometimes ain't comfortable,
Right.
Mm.
I find too with what's happening planetarily, and then also what's happening on a level with my twin heart, is that this bubbling up, or this stuff that we've suppressed all of our life, right, or our lifetimes we've suppressed because maybe it was too hard to handle, or it was just inconvenient at the time. It's like, I'm busy, I got to do stuff, I can't deal with this. But as we release it, there is an expansion of our hearts, or at least for me, I feel like my heart is expanding. Like I feel like sometimes it's just going to burst out of my chest. But it's a constant and a conscious release of energy and things that no longer serve me. And I'm wondering too if you are noticing that with people that you're interacting with, not just even so much your clients, but like just people around you, your family or friends
on the planet.
Yeah.
Generally. But what you've just described here about your own experience, that is alchemy. That right there is alchemy, where you're releasing and transmuting, and so that you're gaining space to love. Your heart space is clear. You're not carrying blame, guilt, shame, those negative emotions. You're raising in vibration. That is alchemy. That is what we do.
And I feel like so many people are going through that. They may not identify with it like that though, because I hesitate to ever really categorize something as negative or positive. And this has taken a long time because we like to judge things, right? Like we love to put things in a box. We love to say, well, is this person a he or she? Is this person this or that? Are you this? Are you that? And when it comes to events in our lives or things that we witness as a society, we do like to kind of label them and categorize them, maybe because there's so much stuff to process. But at the same time, I've become much more aware of whatever I bring into my awareness is something to teach me. It's in order to teach me something about myself or about what I am not,
Exactly. So that, like I said, that is finding purpose in the pain. And truly, if we look back over our lives and our experiences, we only learn when we're experiencing trauma. We only learn from those painful experiences. We remember fun, good, loving, edifying experiences, but it's the pain that is transformative.
It's true. That's so true. Well, as you mentioned in your own story, that your life completely changed after a very traumatic moment in your lifeline.
Right. So the worst thing that happened to me was the best.
Oh, wow. Yes. Oh, that's so true. That's so true. Folks, if you're
it's processing that. Yeah, it's understanding that.
And folks, if you're just joining in, this is Out of the Box Radio. I'm Christine Blasdale, and my guest is Lou George. And hey, Lou, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they reach you?
Facebook is probably the best bet, either Lou George or my page, which is the Good Vibe Tribe on Facebook. I have a website, but I've not published it yet. But
okay, and it's
catching on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. You can look for Lou George, LouGeorge. And what was the other one? The Good Vibe Tribe?
Good Vibe Tribe, yeah, it's my business page.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So I wanted to just find out from you, I wanted to kind of open the floor a little bit for you. If you're getting anything right now that you feel you need to communicate with our listeners, remember this is going out all over the world. It will also be on YouTube. But if there's something in particular that you are feeling that you need to get out, I always open the floor to any of my guests to express that. And if not, don't worry. I'm not going to put you on the spot because I have some other questions to ask you. But is there anything right now that you're feeling that there's a pressing something that needs to be expressed from you?
Oh, Christine, there's so much I want to talk to you about.
Let's do it.
There's so much you would not believe. No, well, hang on a minute, babe, because the downloads I've received, and I've been channeling Tupac this weekend. I've been channeling Princess Diana, but I want to run those through a portal first with our other psychic sisters. Okay. Just to validate that the information I've got is just beautifully clear,
With Diana, I just have a lovely, like right now, I just got beautiful energy coming all over my back. She's so special. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about her another time because there's more information that's come down on that.
Okay.
So that's a project that I'll be setting up, but I guess I want to reiterate that the reason I resonate as a spiritual gangster is because, Christine, I spent so many years sat in development, having psychic tuition, completing every course, every workshop, every training, every certification that I get my hands on. And don't get me wrong, all of it was edifying and expansive, and I just loved every freaking second. But I encountered so many teachers who I was still fond of, but they would judge in a passive aggressive way. You'd be made to feel like you were less evolved. You'd be made to feel less awake and aware, less spiritual if you engaged in certain activities that they didn't feel were edifying. So, for example, if you enjoyed a drink on the weekend, if you had a smoke, if you weren't on a raw vegan diet,
right,
so many of us were left feeling like we were less evolved, less awake and aware, less spiritual if we enjoyed any of those activities. And I enjoy many of them. I enjoy myself, Christine. I focus on the pleasure principle. So there was this real sense of blame, shame and guilt, wondering why you two couldn't be this perfect person. And then in time, I got to realize these teachers and get to know them on a personal level as friends. And I very quickly learned that they had some issues themselves. as we all do, because they're human, yeah? They had emotional stuff that needed healing. They had fears, insecurities, habits and hang-ups, just like the rest of us that would be sitting in those classes. And I realised that this perfection didn't exist. And that was such a catalyst for change for me. I just vowed from that moment on that I would be exactly who I am, with no fakery and no fuckery, total transparency and truth. Yeah, and that just bugged me. Well, it really changed me. So it was a great experience, really, because I felt that I was always aspiring to be like this perfect teacher, and I realised that didn't exist. And although that was devastating to me, it was also liberating. And so I consciously make an effort to be exactly who I am. And what you see on social media, any public platform of me, is exactly what you'd see if you were to meet me in the physical. And that makes me so happy.
It is
so
liberating.
Freeing.
It is liberating, isn't it? To be that we're human beings and that we're perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, perfectly imperfect. You don't have to hide anything. We're all working our own stuff out. I just think that's an important message for people to realise who, maybe are, dipping into spirituality, looking at how they can develop their psychic senses, to know that they don't have to be part of the love and light crew. We're not all woo-woo, we're not all fluffy. But it doesn't affect our connection at all.
And that no one, is
really
more spiritually. There's not this ladder of like a hierarchy, that no one is more spiritually developed than the other.
Absolutely not. No. And your connection. I mean, everybody's got the connection, but how clear you hear and interpret is just down to practice. How often you practice it, and that right there is the truth, babe.
Now, what I had asked earlier, and we had a little phone issue here, but what I had asked earlier too was if there was anything that was coming up that you felt that you needed to express, if there's anything coming from your masters, your ascended masters, if there's something you wanted to express.
I wanted to share something with you, actually.
Go right ahead.
I know that we didn't know, did we, what we'd be speaking about tonight? We were just going to get together, hang out, and we just rolling with it.
Yep.
But I noticed your post on Facebook about Dick Gregory. When he ascended, he went home, didn't he, the weekend?
Yes.
And as soon as I was reading that, because that was the first I'd heard of it. Oh, now, let me rewind. Right. This week, I'd been wearing my Black Panthers party T-shirt. First time I've ever worn it, right? I was feeling fabulous. Loved it. Then Sister Born Ready calls me about the Prince video, saying that she's inspired to make her own video, which is very beautiful. And she says to me, I'm down in my place in Miami and I've got a feral cat that's come in, and I call him Panther. He's black and he's just got all the attributes of a panther. He'd be badass. So that was beautiful. And then that night, Christine, I got trolled for the first time ever on my Prince Was Murdered broadcast. And it really, I'm not ashamed to say, it really wounded me, because I'm so used to such loving relationships, such respect, such support, that to have someone come in with the ugliness really, put me on my knees. So I went to bed that night trying to process and trying to work that feeling out and understand it was projection and where she was coming from. But it was 2:02 in the morning when I got to bed, and one of our other soul sisters, our purple sisters, Marisol, she sent me a picture of a panther. So I wake up in the morning and I see your post about Dick Gregory going home. When I saw your post, as I started speaking to you on your post, I instantly saw the hugest party, waiting to greet Dick Gregory as he came home. Just the most mass, countless number of people, but right at the front, head and shoulders above the rest, was Muhammad Ali. Then we had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X, we had Prince, we had John Lennon. The world was feeling sad, the loss of this incredible man, an activist,
and a game changer. But I was just elated for him. Just I could feel his power, you know? How he'd be laser focused and channeling through other people on the planet now, continuing his work. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing.
Things happen and we can see these things, which we can all do. We wouldn't suffer so much grief in the same way.
So he had a welcoming party, so to speak, there.
Oh, the best party. The best party.
And he can do so much now too from where he's at. Is he? I felt when I did hear of his passing, it really struck a nerve with me. And there's people that pass, all the time, and there's famous people. Jerry Lewis just recently passed. I didn't feel a thing, but when Dick Gregory did, I did feel, and actually it's not so much it wasn't a sadness. It was just a personal thing. Like for me, like I really wanted to interview him, right, at one point. But,
wow.
But it wasn't like a tragic sadness for me. It was just that something to my core I really felt, just like with Prince, I felt that very much. And the same thing with Princess Diana. There's a few people that I feel a connection with. And I think when they pass, I feel that greatly. John Trudell, who is also, he's, if you're not familiar with him, he was a Native American activist and a very, very important person, just to me in my life as an inspiration. He had quite a bit of trauma inflicted upon him, and it did change him quite a bit, but he was a very incredible human being. So his passing actually did hit me rather hard. That was emotional for me. But
yeah, and it's because you're soul fam. Your heart recognizes him. Your heart remembers him.
Yes.
Same with Dick Gregory. Same with Prince. Same with George Michael. Same with Princess Di. They're soul fam.
There's soul families. We have soul families.
Yeah, of course we do. Of course we do, and we tend to reincarnate with them. But in the case, I'm going to go to Prince because I'm looking at him now. But in the case of Prince, with our soul family, we often reincarnate with them in the physical. But there's some people, like Prince, for example, that I never met, never followed. Oh, are you still there, Christine? I think I'm losing connection.
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Yes.
And so I couldn't first process or understand why I was feeling such grief and such connection to him until I surrendered and started channeling him. But it's because we're not meant to know them in this life then, as Lou and Christine, right? Mm-hmm. Perhaps be aware of them, but not know them. Because when you start channeling and receiving the information from them, you know where it's coming from because you didn't know that in physical life. If you were ever a Prince fan, for example, and you saw him 100 times and you knew everything about him, you wouldn't be a clear channel. That's not to say you wouldn't be in the dialogue with him and in conscious communication, but you would doubt it because you think, I knew that about him, or I'm making assumptions, So if you don't connect in the physical with your soul fam, it's for that purpose, that you can validate information when it comes to you. You have to honor and acknowledge those feelings. Like that feeling of loss for Dick Gregory.
Yes.
Even though you didn't know him, that feeling of loss, connect with it because it is a loss to the planet, a huge loss. But now, as you understand that the work can continue on a much larger scale,
yes,
far more focused, without the physical restraints of time and space.
Oh, yes.
Then you can with it and celebrate it. Yeah. And the same with Prince, same with Diana, same with all of them.
We would have such a different outlook on death if we realized how, I don't even have the right word for it. It's not massive. Our souls are, our souls, the whole idea of that, like if you think of someone, they immediately come to you. I also think that even if they're alive here, mm-hmm, someone that I love is 7,000 miles away, but I know that the moment I think of her soul, even if she's asleep, her soul or a part of her soul is going to come and be right there. So we have
you're correct, and that is because everything is energy, right?
Yes.
Whether in the physical or spiritual form, everything is energy. So like your lovely lady, you could be thinking of her, right? Literally, I know she's on your mind a lot, but let's say, I don't know, you're really busy, and then all of a sudden a thought of her will drop down, and then she'll phone you,
Yes.
And you're like, shit, I was just thinking of you.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? It's because you're sharing brainwaves. You're sharing that energy. It's a connection. And that can happen with people you haven't seen in years. You can have a thought of and it's more impactful then if you haven't seen somebody in years because you haven't spoken to them in a very long time. And you could think, oh, I wonder how Steve is. I haven't seen him in, Steve from school. And then you run into him the same day and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Yes. Or when
Right?
you do connect, or you think about someone in particular, I notice with my love is that when I'll be thinking about her or something, I'll just look at my phone and I see a lot of these numbers. I see, the synchronicity numbers, the 1111 or 222, 444. That's like happening like ridiculously now. Like I
Because you're so beautifully aligned. You are such a high vibe person anyway on your own as an individual, your heart, your core. But having this love that is so edifying and so enriching and so exactly the love that you deserve has just amplified and increased your vibrational wind, as if you needed to increase it anyway, right? So you will have these synchronistic events. You will notice numbers, you'll notice the time, you'll notice registration numbers and music on the radio will, you'll have synchronistic music, things like that. Yeah, and all the numbers carry a different vibration and a different meaning, but basically when it comes down to it, if you're noticing the synchronicity of the numbers, you're in perfect alignment.
Exactly.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Now you had mentioned too that everything is energy. So if you think of someone, and especially if we think of someone, let's put it on let's analyze this a little bit. If you're thinking lovely thoughts, oh my goodness, it'd be so nice to talk to this person. I miss this person. I hope they're doing well. That energy, right? Because it's an energy in the thought in a thought form has a power to it. Has a power, right? And the same thing, but the same thing is if we also, those thoughts that we have that are negative or they can spiral down, those things. Let's talk about that.
I was just going to say the same thing. Oh, my word. Right. Okay. Yes. You have to be very conscious then. It wouldn't apply to you, Christine.
Oh, no, it does. I have those. Those.
Yeah, but rarely, right? You wouldn't fall into the category that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no. But I don't like it when I do. I can feel it, and I really don't like going there. But those thoughts, those little things come up. The self-defeating things, or the little voice that wants to beat you up. Or just throw a wrench in things, yeah.
Yeah, but you catch yourself doing it.
Yeah,
right? You catch yourself doing it, and you don't like it. It's not in alignment. It doesn't feel good to you to be feeling bad things about anybody else. You don't want to feel like that. But then there are other people who intentionally speak badly of other people all day long. All day long.
Right.
There are people who, I won't go too trippy with this, but, black magic, curses, voodoo, that kind of thing. And it's everything's intention, everything is energy. So you can, I don't know whether we can go here, Christine, on your radio show, but I've even known when someone is having like sexual thoughts about me.
Oh, you can go. You can go anywhere you want on the show. It's out of the box.
Well, okay. You can feel it. And you feel violated.
Yes.
Now, yes, obviously if it's not, a reciprocated feeling. So people need to be conscious of their thoughts. People need to get with the program. They need to understand how this works. Be conscious of their thoughts. And that's not to fall into that trap of a lot of people who are starting to learn about law of attraction can fall into that misconception of, I've got to delete a bad thought. I can't have a negative emotion in, cancel, delete. Well, it's not that. It's just working it out.
I find that it's that when those icky feelings come up, okay, and usually it's a fear is what it is. It's when it boils down to. But what I've been able to do recently is I'll feel it. Your mind goes to the worst case scenario, right? Whatever it is, it's your ego or something maybe protecting itself, or you're just insecurity. So what will happen is that now I'm able to how do I explain? Now I'm able to see it as a thought, and I step back and I say, okay, let me see how it feels. It's kind of like dipping your toe in the water to see how it feels. How does that feel? It doesn't feel good. Okay, yeah. So let's pull away from that and focus on a different thought. Let's bring in a different thought. It's hard sometimes because we want to go down the drain. Yeah. We the momentum and those neural pathways have been burned, right?
Yeah, but reprogramming them, redirecting those pathways.
Yes.
Rewiring.
Let's talk about that. How do we do that? How do we do it?
Yeah, it can be done. It's just repetition. That's all it is. Repetition, affirmation, mantra. Everything is intention. But you are so conscious, like you just said. You dip a toe in, you feel that doesn't feel good, and you don't want to not feel good. Right. Whereas some people will happily hang out on that vibe of not feeling good because for them that's a habit. And you can feel those people. Somebody doesn't like you if they've never even spoken to you.
Yes.
You can feel it from them.
Yes.
Right, and in the same way you can feel someone's love. Before I even ever connected with you on Facebook, before we ever spoke, had any communication, I even said to Abigail Noel, she mentioned something about you. I think she did an interview or had spoken to you or something had gone on. But she mentioned you and I said, Boston. I said, if I met Boston, we'd be best friends. She was like, right. And I hadn't even met you, but I can feel you.
Right.
Yeah?
Yes. You can feel the energy. It's the same with you. I can feel your energy. And you're right. You don't even have to speak to another person and you can feel it. And then you take it another step further with people. I know that I'm an empath, so I feel energy. So I can feel if someone is carrying around a lot of negativity. I've been in situations where I've been at someone's house and someone walks in and I literally cannot be in the same room. I have to get out. And they didn't say one word to me.
Yeah.
But it's because we are all energy. And this is the thing too, folks, and I'm so glad that you had brought it up too originally, Lou, is that I want everyone listening to this to please be aware of your thoughts and to be aware that they carry an energy. And if you don't want bad things, negative things to be happening to you, to try, it's hard sometimes, but to try and change those thoughts or to just to look at them as a thought. It's not reality. It doesn't need to be reality. It's our imagination a lot of times. It's that worst case scenario thing, right?
Yeah, but you said it earlier. You hit the nail on the head when you said it's fear. There's only ever two choices: love or fear.
Love or fear, right?
Yeah.
And
no matter how that disguises itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we just need to constantly choose love. We need to. We really do. It's hard sometimes for people because fear is such a...
It is. Oof. It is hard. It's programming, reprogramming, rewiring. It's an effort to get into that space of love. It's not enough to be loved deeply by someone else. If you're not loving of yourself, then you can't fully love anyone else. So it's all on you entirely. Full responsibility.
Full responsibility. Yeah. Yes.
Accountability, responsibility. Yeah.
I getcha. We have just a few minutes left in the show, and I just wanted to I'll give you the platform if there's anything that you wanted to express. If you got any recent hits on anything, I know it's only we've only got about 4 minutes to go. It's not a lot of time, but if there's anything that you want to let our listeners know that's coming up for you.
Let me think. No, do you know, Christina, I'm just being bombarded with channeled information that has dropped down that I would like to speak to you privately about rather than on the show until I can validate it. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's run those through portals and then discuss again whether you want to put it out there.
Gotcha. I gotcha. I understand. Yeah. Totally. If folks, I'm just so. First of all, I'm so happy that this is your first time on the show. I'm hoping that you will. Well, we're going to make sure that you come back. You're going to be a regular if it's all right with you.
Oh, I'd love to.
Wonderful.
loved connecting with you. Thank you so very much.
And I know that the connection that we have, I already feel that there's going to be more people that I'm going to be connecting to you that need to talk to you, just to for so many different reasons. There's so much being channeled through, being funneled through right now about that connection. So I'm going to make sure that I hook them up with you as soon as possible. And again, for folks that want to get a hold of you, go ahead and just give out your information if they want to get a hold of you for a session or talk to you.
Okay, so right now you can catch me on Facebook under Lou George. That's my personal profile, or my work page, which is The Good Vibe Tribe, and that's at, let me check, facebook.com/Witchy Mama. You can find me on Etsy to book sessions at Tribe The Good Vibe, also on Instagram at Tribe The Good Vibe. So any which way they want to grab me.
So check her out.
Not any which way.
No.
I'm on that.
Oh, Lou, thank you so very much. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us and allowing our listeners to get a little glimpse of who you are. And I can't wait to talk to you about some stuff that's coming down for you that you're feeling, and see if we can pursue it and possibly get it on the air if it needs to be put out on the air.
Oh, thank you. It's entirely reciprocated. Thank you. I appreciate you, Christine. I love you.
I love you too. All right, everyone. So please go check out Lou George. It's LOUGEORGE. Check her out on Facebook. Check her out on Instagram, anywhere you can. And I want to thank you so very much for listening this week. Remember, if you want to never miss an episode of Out of the Box Radio, first of all, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Out of the Box Radio. You can subscribe to that, and you'll see all of the shows or hear all of the shows. You can also subscribe to the podcast directly through iTunes or iHeartradio. Oh, and I wanted to make a very special announcement before I forget. Out of the Box Radio is going to start accepting media sponsorships. What does that mean? That means that your organization, your product, your company, your service can be promoted on this program. There'll be different packages available to you, but the best news is there's approximately 22,000 digital downloads of the podcast each and every month. And again, that number is growing as well. People subscribe to the program through iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, and of course through the UBN host page. But we're growing, and we're hoping we're going to get even bigger. So if you're interested in a sponsorship package, please contact me, Christine, and you can do that by emailing me at cblosdale@yahoo.com. If you don't know how to spell it, it's C, as in Christine, Blosdale, BLOSDALE @yahoo.com. There's a number of different packages available to you, so please contact me at that email address, and we'll get you promoted on Out of the Box Radio. Again, that email address is cblosdale@yahoo.com, CBLOSDALE @yahoo.com. And as always, I want to remind you to think outside of the box. Until next week, bye for now.
Yay!